Money can't buy peace, but revenge might. That's what I kept telling myself as I stared at the text message burning through my phone screen. 18 years of silence and now this. Dinner tomorrow? I have something important to tell you. Mom. I'm Harmony, and my mother's definition of important has always been questionable. The last important thing she told me was that she was going out for groceries. I was 12. She never came back. My fingers hovered over the phone. Delete would be the smart choice. That's what my therapist would say, what Ben would advise, what every self-help book on abandonment issues would recommend. But there I was, in my corner office overlooking downtown, letting that message derail my entire afternoon. The Henderson contract needs your signature, Laura said, poking her head through my door. She stopped when she saw my face. You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse. I heard from Linda. Laura's professional demeanor cracked. Your mother, after all this time? I turned my screen toward her. The message glowed like a warning sign. Are you going? Laura asked, perching on the edge of my desk. I shouldn't, but you will. I nodded, hating how well she knew me. I need to know why now. Why after I've finally built something for myself? You mean after you've become successful enough to be interesting? Laura's tone carried an edge I rarely heard from her. Your father should know about this. My father. The man who worked double shifts at his bakery to keep me in dance classes after Linda left. Who never said a bad word about her, even when I was screaming and breaking things in our kitchen at age 13. I'll tell him, I said, though the words felt like stones in my mouth. After I see what she wants. Laura's face softened. Want me to come with you? No. Whatever this is, I need to face it alone. The rest of the day blurred past in a haze of signatures and meetings. I barely registered the details of the Henderson contract, my mind spinning with possibilities. Was she sick? Dying? Had she finally run out of whatever she'd been chasing when she left us? That evening, I sat in my car outside the restaurant she'd chosen. Some trendy place downtown, the kind that served tiny portions on massive plates. Of course she wouldn't suggest meeting at my father's bakery. That would require acknowledging too much history. My phone buzzed. Ben. You don't owe her anything, his text read. I typed back, I know, but I owe myself answers. Inside, the host led me to a corner table. And there she was, looking exactly like the woman who haunted my memories, yet somehow smaller. Her hair was still that artificial shade of blonde, her makeup still perfect. She stood when she saw me, arms opening for a hug I had no intention of giving. Harmony, she said, my name sounding foreign on her lips. You look successful. I sat down without touching her. What do you want? Can't a mother want to see her daughter? A mother? Is that what you're calling yourself now? She flinched but recovered quickly. I deserve that. I know I do. But I'm hoping... Well, I wanted you to meet someone. That's when I noticed the young woman approaching our table from the direction of the restrooms. 19, maybe 20, with Linda's eyes and my father's dark hair. My stomach dropped as understanding dawned. This is Mia, Linda said, beaming like she was presenting a prize. Your sister. The world tilted sideways. All these years, I'd imagined her starting fresh somewhere, building a new life. I never imagined she'd built a whole new family. Half-sister, I corrected automatically, my voice coming from somewhere far away. And how long have you been keeping this particular secret? Linda's smile faltered. Harmony, please. I wanted to tell you so many times. When? Between abandoning me and replacing me? Mia slid into the seat beside Linda, watching me with careful interest. I've wanted to meet you for so long, she said softly. I looked between them, noting their matching necklaces, their easy familiarity. Everything Linda had denied me, she'd given to this girl instead. Well, I said, reaching for my purse, now you have. But Linda's next words froze me in place. We need your help, Harmony. And I promise once you hear us out, you'll understand everything. I gripped my steering wheel, knuckles white, staring at my father's bakery sign, glowing in the evening darkness. The conversation with Linda and her perfect replacement daughter still burned in my throat like acid reflux. Dad needed to know. He deserved to hear it from me, not through small-town gossip. The bell chimed as I pushed through the door, the scent of fresh sourdough wrapped around me like a familiar embrace. But tonight it couldn't calm my racing heart. "We're closing in 10. Dad's voice trailed off when he saw me. He wiped his flour-covered hands on his apron. "Twice in 1 week? Should I be worried?" I forced a smile. "Can't a daughter visit her father?" "Not when she's wearing her power suit at 8 p.m. He studied my face. "What's wrong?" The words stuck in my throat. Instead of answering, I walked behind the counter and started helping him clean, just like I used to as a teenager. The rhythmic motion of wiping down surfaces gave me courage. "Linda's back," I said finally, keeping my eyes on the counter, "and she brought company." The cleaning cloth in Dad's hand went still. "Company? My sister." The word tasted bitter. "Half-sister. She's 19. The silence that followed was deafening. When I looked up, Dad had aged 10 years in 10 seconds. He gripped the edge of the industrial mixer for support. 19, he repeated, doing the math. So when she left, she was already pregnant. The rage I'd suppressed at dinner bubbled up. "She wants something, Dad. They both do. Some kind of help with their real estate ventures." Dad's laugh was hollow. "Real estate? That's rich coming from her." "What do you mean?" He shook his head. "Nothing. Ancient history." But there was something in his tone, a bitterness I'd never heard before. The bell chimed again. Uncle Frank walked in, carrying his usual evening paper. He stopped short when he saw our faces. "Who died?" he asked, then noticed the tension. "David. What's wrong?" "Linda's back," Dad said, "with her other daughter." Frank's newspaper crumpled in his grip. "That conniving little—" He caught himself glancing at me. "Sorry, Harmony. But after what she did with those property deals before she left—" "Frank," Dad warned, but I was already latching on to this new information. "What property deals?" "It's not important now," Dad said quickly. "Like hell it's not." I turned to Frank. "What deals?" Frank looked between us, then sighed. "Your mother was more than just a realtor, Harmony. She was running a scheme, convinced several of David's friends to invest in fake development projects. When she disappeared, she took their money with her." The room spun. I steadied myself against the counter. "How much?" "Nearly $500,000, Dad said quietly. "I paid most of them back over the years. It's why we had to sell the house. All those double shifts, all those years of living above the bakery. I'd always assumed it was just because we couldn't afford the house after Linda left. Never once had I imagined." "And now she's back," I said, pieces clicking into place, "asking for help with real estate ventures." "History repeating itself," Frank muttered. My phone buzzed, a text from Mia. "Mum says you left dinner upset. Can we meet tomorrow? Just us?" I showed the message to Dad and Frank. "Don't," Frank said immediately. "She's Linda's daughter. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree." But Dad's expression was thoughtful. "Or maybe she's like you, Harmony. Maybe she needs to know the truth about her mother, too." I typed back a quick agreement to meet, my mind already racing with possibilities. If Linda was planning another scheme, Mia might be the key to exposing it, either as an innocent informant or a willing accomplice. "I need to know what they're planning," I said, "before anyone else gets hurt." Dad touched my shoulder. "Just be careful. Your mother? She has a way of making everything sound reasonable until it's too late." I hugged him, breathing in the familiar scent of flour and coffee. "I learned from the best how to spot a con artist," I said. "She taught me that lesson the day she walked out." As I left the bakery, my phone buzzed again. Mia had suggested meeting at a coffee shop downtown. Perfect. Right across from my office where Laura could keep an eye on things. This time I'd be ready for whatever game Linda was playing. And if Mia was part of it, well, she'd learned that her big sister hadn't spent the last 18 years learning how to forgive. The numbers didn't lie. I'd been staring at property records for 3 hours, and with each document, the pit in my stomach grew deeper. Linda hadn't just returned to play Happy Families, she'd been systematically shadowing my real estate investments for months. "Look at this," I said, pushing my laptop toward Laura. "Every property I've shown interest in over the past year has a competing bid from shell companies, all traced back to her." Laura leaned closer, frowning. "That can't be coincidence." "It gets worse." I pulled up another screen. "Remember that deal I lost last month? The Victorian conversion project. Someone spread rumours about structural issues that didn't exist. Guess who toured the property the day before?" "Mia," Laura whispered, connecting the dots. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil, another text from my perfect little sister. "Coffee was great yesterday. Mum's excited about your interest in our development project." I hadn't shown any interest. I'd spent the entire coffee meeting deflecting questions about my business while Mia probed for information about my investment strategy. I'd been so focused on getting intel from her, I hadn't realized she was doing the same to me. The office door opened. Ben walked in, his face grim. "You need to see this." He handed me his tablet, open to a local business newsletter. My stomach lurched at the headline. Rising Star Developer Faces Questions About Project Viability. "They're quoting anonymous sources," Ben said quietly, "claiming you've been inflating property values and misleading investors." The room tilted sideways. These were the exact accusations that had destroyed Linda's reputation before she disappeared, the same crimes she'd actually committed. "She's trying to make me look like her," I said, my voice strange in my ears. "Turn me into the villain of her story." My phone rang. "Dad, are you watching the news?" "Just saw it. Frank's been asking around. Linda's been meeting with some of her old victims, claiming she has evidence you're running the same schemes she did. Says she came back to make things right." The laugh that escaped me didn't sound human. "Make things right? By destroying me?" "Harmony," Laura interrupted, staring at her phone. "Your Henderson project just lost its primary investor. The walls closed in. The Henderson project was my biggest deal yet, a mixed-use development that would have cemented my reputation. Without that investor, I need air," I muttered, heading for the door. The elevator opened before I reached it. Mia stepped out, looking perfectly innocent in her university sweater and jeans. "Harmony, I was just coming to—" "Save it." I grabbed her arm, pulling her into the empty conference room. "How long have you been helping her sabotage me?" "What? Don't lie to me." I slapped the business newsletter on the table. "Anonymous sources, property tours, competing bids. You're not here to know me, you're here to destroy me." Something shifted in Mia's expression, a hardness I recognized from Linda's face. "You don't understand. Mom said what? That I deserved it? That I had this coming? That you stole everything from her?" Mia's voice cracked. "Her clients, her reputation, her chance to start over. She said you turned everyone against her." I laughed, the sound sharp as broken glass. "Is that what she told you? Did she mention the $500,000 she stole? The lives she ruined? Ask her about the money Dad spent years paying back. Ask her about—" "You're lying," Mia said, but uncertainty flickered in her eyes. "Am I? Check the court records. They're public. See who's really telling the truth." My phone buzzed again. Another investor pulling out. "Get out," I said quietly, "and tell Linda something for me. Tell her I understand now, why she came back, what she really wants." I stepped closer, watching Mia flinch. "Tell her she taught me well. Everything I know about revenge, I learned from her abandonment." Mia backed away, her composure cracking. "This isn't what I didn't know." "Yes, you did. You just didn't care. Like mother. Like daughter." After she fled, I stood in the conference room, watching my city through the windows. Somewhere out there, Linda was orchestrating my downfall, using my own sister as a weapon. She'd taken everything from me once before. Never again. I pulled out my phone and dialed Uncle Frank. "Remember those records you kept? About Linda's schemes? I need everything. It's time to show Mia exactly who her mother really is. The game had changed. Linda wanted to replay history? Fine. But this time, I'd write the ending. Uncle Frank's box of evidence sat unopened on my kitchen counter while Ben paced behind me. 3 days of staring at it, and I still couldn't bring myself to lift the lid. "You don't have to do this," Ben said, touching my shoulder. "We could still go to the authorities." I shrugged off his hand. With what? Circumstantial evidence and an 18-year-old scandal. Then walk away. Sell the Henderson project, start fresh somewhere else. The suggestion hit like a slap. Run away? Like she did? The doorbell rang before Ben could respond. Laura stood outside, clutching her tablet. Her face told me everything. "How bad?" I asked, letting her in. "The Henderson investors are filing a lawsuit. They're claiming fraud, saying you misrepresented the property's value." She paused. "Linda's name is on the filing, as an expert witness." The room tilted. I steadied myself against the counter, accidentally knocking Frank's box. Papers spilled across the floor, old contracts, newspaper clippings, photographs. One caught my eye. A younger Linda standing beside a man I didn't recognize, both smiling at some construction site. The date stamp, 3 months before she left us. "Who is that?" Ben asked, picking up the photo. My phone buzzed. "Mia." I ignored it. "There's more," Laura said quietly. The lawsuit mentions specific dates and transactions. Things only someone with inside access would know. The implications hit me like ice water. I thought of all the times I'd left Mia alone in my office during our coffee meetings. How many documents had she photographed? How many files had she accessed? "I trusted her," I whispered. Even knowing who her mother was, I still... "Harmony." Ben's voice was strange. He held up another photo from Frank's box. "You need to see this." The same man from the first photo, but newer, standing next to Mia at what looked like a graduation ceremony. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. My phone buzzed again. This time I answered. "Stop digging," Mia said without preamble. "Mom says..." "Who is he?" I cut her off. "The man in the photos. Your father." Silence. "Did Linda tell you how she met him? That he was Dad's business partner before she destroyed everything?" "You don't understand," Mia started, but I was already pulling more papers from the box. Property deeds, investment contracts, all transferred to him right before she left. She didn't just steal from Dad's friends. She set him up to take the fall while she ran off with his partner. "That's not..." "And now you're doing the same thing to me." The laugh that escaped me was bitter. "Like mother, like daughter, right? We needed to know if you were like her," Mia's voice cracked. "Dad said she probably taught you her tricks, that you'd try to take everything." I hung up. The room spun as everything realigned. We'd all been playing different games. Linda wanted revenge. Mia wanted validation. And I'd been so focused on protecting myself, I'd missed the bigger picture. "The lawsuit," I said to Laura. "Who's the presiding judge?" She checked her tablet. "Judge Marcus Reynolds." "Reynolds?" I repeated. Another piece clicked. Dad's old golf partner, the one who helped cover up Linda's crimes to protect the community's reputation. Ben grabbed my arm as I reached for my keys. "Where are you going?" "To see my father." I shook him off. "There's more to this story. Dad protected Linda back then, convinced Reynolds to bury the evidence. I need to know why." "You're not thinking clearly," Laura warned. "This is exactly what they want, to make you act rashly, make mistakes." "No." I gathered the scattered papers, my mind racing. "They want me to run, to hide, to be ashamed, like Dad was. But I'm not him." I turned to Ben and Laura, seeing the concern in their faces. I've spent my whole life trying not to be Linda, but maybe that's been the problem. Maybe it's time to beat her at her own game. "What are you going to do?" Ben asked quietly. I picked up the photo of Linda and her lover, the man who'd helped destroy my family once and was trying to do it again through his daughter. "I'm going to make them wish they'd never heard of the Henderson project." I grabbed my keys. "And then I'm going to take everything they have, just like they taught me." The security guard at Linda's office building barely glanced at my borrowed maintenance uniform. Amazing what doors open when you look like you belong. Even more amazing what people leave in their desk drawers when they think no one's looking. Linda's office computer hummed to life. Password protected, of course, but I'd watched Mia type it in during one of our sisterly coffee meetings. Mother's birthday. How touching. You shouldn't be here. I didn't turn around. Hello, Mia. I could call security. But you won't, I kept scrolling through files. Because then you'd have to explain why you're here at midnight, too. She moved closer, her reflection in the monitor showing uncertainty. What are you looking for? The truth. For once. I opened another folder. Like why Judge Reynolds' wife suddenly invested $2 million in your mother's new development company last month. That's confidential. Or why 3 of my former clients received anonymous emails about building code violations that never existed. I swiveled to face her. Did Linda dictate those emails, or did you write them yourself? Mia's face hardened. You don't understand what's at stake. Then explain it to me, sister. The word tasted like poison. Explain why you're helping them destroy me. Because you destroyed them first, her composure cracked. Dad lost everything because of your father's lies. Mom had to start over with nothing. I laughed, the sound sharp in the quiet office. Is that what they told you? That Dad was the liar? My phone buzzed. Laura's text. Linda just entered the building. Show me, Mia demanded suddenly. If you have proof they're lying, show me. I pulled out Uncle Frank's file. Bank transfers, property deeds. All moved to your father's name before Linda ran. She didn't start over with nothing. She started over with everything she stole. Mia's hands shook as she read. This could be fake. Like the evidence against me in the Henderson lawsuit. Her head snapped up. Something flickered in her eyes. Doubt, maybe fear. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? The lawsuit claims I falsified property values. Funny how that's exactly what Linda did 18 years ago. Almost like she's following a script. Footsteps in the hallway. Mia's eyes darted to the door. Choose now, I said quietly. Help me expose the truth or go down with them when I do. You're bluffing. You have nothing concrete. I have everything. I turned the monitor toward her, including emails between Linda and Judge Reynolds discussing how to fast-track the lawsuit. Interesting reading, especially the parts about you. The footsteps grew closer. Mia's breathing quickened. They're using you, I pressed. Just like they used Dad. Once they get what they want. Stop. Her voice cracked. Just stop. The door handle turned. Mia moved suddenly, grabbing the files and shoving them into my hands. Backstairs. 3rd floor has a broken security camera. I hesitated. Why? Because I need to know. Her eyes met mine. The whole truth, not just their version. Linda's voice carried through the door, speaking to someone. Mia pushed me toward the emergency exit. Tomorrow, she whispered. The cafe on 4th. Bring everything you have. I slipped through the door as Linda's key turned in the lock. Through the closing gap, I heard Mia's voice, perfectly casual. Oh, hi, Mom. I was just checking those investment reports you wanted. Outside, rain had started falling. I clutched the files to my chest, mind racing. Was Mia truly switching sides or setting another trap? Either way, I had what I came for. Proof of Linda's manipulation of the lawsuit, evidence of judicial misconduct, and something unexpected. A draft email to Mia's father discussing their contingency plan if she proved unreliable. My phone buzzed again. Ben this time. Your father knows what you did. He's waiting at the bakery. I stared at the message, rain soaking through my stolen uniform. Dad had always chosen silence over confrontation when it came to Linda. What would he say now that I was choosing a different path? The files felt heavy in my arms, 18 years of secrets and lies, finally exposed. Tomorrow, Mia would either help me use them or try to bury them again. Either way, there was no going back now. I headed toward the bakery, toward whatever judgment waited there. Linda had taught me about revenge, but Dad had taught me about courage. Time to show them both what I'd learned. The real estate conference buzzed with artificial cheer as I adjusted my presentation slides. Linda sat in the front row, Mia beside her, both wearing identical expressions of polite interest. They thought they had me cornered. The lawsuit had frozen my assets. The Henderson project was in ruins. Even my own father had warned me to back down. They had no idea what was coming. Our next speaker, the moderator announced, Harmony Walsh, discussing urban development trends. I took the podium, my USB drive heavy in my hand. Not my prepared presentation, something much more interesting. Thank you, I said, scanning the crowd. Judge Reynolds in the third row looking uncomfortable. Several of Linda's investors scattered throughout. Perfect. I'd like to discuss something more relevant than market trends. Let's talk about fraud. The first slide appeared. Linda's email to Judge Reynolds about fast-tracking the lawsuit. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Specifically, how to orchestrate a hostile takeover using false litigation and judicial misconduct. Linda's smile froze. Mia half rose from her seat, but Linda grabbed her arm. 18 years ago, this woman stole $500,000 from our community. I clicked to the next slide. Bank records, property transfers, all bearing Linda's signature. Now she's back to do it again, using the same playbook. This is slander, Linda called out, but her voice shook. Is it? Another click. The email about Mia being unreliable appeared. Even your own daughter isn't safe from your schemes. Mia's face went white. She turned to Linda, who was already reaching for her phone. Security! Linda snapped into it. Now! I kept going, racing against time. The Henderson lawsuit? Orchestrated by Linda and Judge Reynolds to... The microphone cut out. Security appeared at both doors. You're making a mistake, Linda said, her voice carrying in the sudden silence. That evidence was obtained illegally. Breaking and entering computer fraud. She's the criminal here. The crowd shifted, uncertain. I saw investors exchanging glances, reporters scribbling notes. Ask her about the money, I challenged. Ask her where it really went. Ask Judge Reynolds about those offshore accounts. Enough! The judge stood abruptly. This is a private business matter that... That what? Mia's voice cut through the chaos. She stood, trembling. That you're trying to cover up. Again? Linda's eyes widened. Mia, sit down. No. Mia pulled out her phone. I recorded everything. Your meetings, your plans, what you really wanted from this lawsuit. The room erupted. Linda lunged for Mia's phone, but she was too late. The recording was already playing, her own voice filling the conference hall. Once we destroy her reputation, everything she built becomes ours, just like last time. Security reached me as Judge Reynolds stormed out. One of Linda's investors was already on his phone, looking furious. Cameras flashed. You're under arrest, the officer said, producing handcuffs. I didn't resist. I'd known this was coming. Sometimes you have to sacrifice everything to win. Wait, Mia pushed through the crowd. I have evidence that she's telling the truth. Linda forced me to... Don't. Linda's voice was ice. Remember who you are, whose daughter you really are. Mia faltered. In that moment of hesitation, I saw 18 years of manipulation at work. She was just as trapped as I had been. The handcuffs clicked shut. As security led me out, I caught glimpses of the aftermath, reporters swarming Linda, investors demanding answers, Mia standing alone in the chaos, looking lost. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably Ben or Laura, warning me it was too late, or Dad saying he'd told me so. It didn't matter now. Outside, rain fell again. Fitting. The officer guided me toward his car while photographers called my name, asking for comments. Was it worth it? Linda's voice carried across the parking lot. She stood under an umbrella watching my arrest with something like satisfaction. Destroying yourself just to expose me? I turned to face her one last time. You taught me well, Mom. Sometimes revenge is worth any price. The police car door opened. As I ducked inside, I caught a final glimpse of Mia through the conference center windows. She was staring at her phone, still holding the evidence that could save or damn me. The door slammed shut. Through the rain-streaked window, I watched my carefully built world crumble. But in the ruins, I saw something else. The first cracks in Linda's perfect facade. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something true. The holding cell door opened with a metallic screech. I expected another detective. Instead, Mia stood there, clutching her phone like a lifeline. "You have 5 minutes," the guard said. I stayed seated on the bench. "Come to gloat?" "To explain," Mia's voice trembled. "About the recordings. Save it. I saw your true colours at the conference." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You saw what Mum needed you to see, just like everyone else." Before I could respond, the cell door opened again. Linda swept in, immaculate despite everything, that familiar artificial smile plastered on her face. "Family reunion," she said. "How fitting." Mia stiffened. I noticed her thumb moving over her phone screen, but Linda's attention was fixed on me. "You really thought you could beat me at my own game?" Linda's smile hardened. "I taught you everything you know about revenge, remember?" "Not everything." I met her gaze. "Dad taught me about patience." "David," she laughed. "That weak man who couldn't even protect his own investments." "That man," Mia interrupted, "who paid back every penny you stole." Linda's head snapped toward her daughter. "What did you say?" "I found the records." Mia's voice strengthened. "In your office that night. The real ones, not the fake story you fed me about Dad stealing everything." "You went through my private files?" "Like mother, like daughter." Mia's laugh was bitter. "Isn't that what you always say?" Something shifted in Linda's expression, a crack in the perfect mask. "Whatever you think you found, I found the truth." Mia held up her phone. And so did they. The cell door opened again. 2 FBI agents stepped in, followed by Dad and Uncle Frank. "Linda Walsh," one agent said, "we have some questions about your recent financial activities." Linda's composure slipped for just a second. "This is ridiculous. I'm the victim here. She's the one who—" "Who what?" Mia pressed play on her phone. Linda's voice filled the cell. "Once the lawsuit discredits her, transfer everything to the Cayman account. Judge Reynolds will make sure—" Linda lunged for the phone. Mia dodged, backing toward the agents. "I recorded everything, Mom. Every meeting, every threat, every lie." "You ungrateful little—" "What?" I stood finally. "Disappointment? Traitor? That's my role in this story, remember?" "The charges against Ms. Walsh are being dropped," the second agent announced, "in light of new evidence." Linda's perfect mask cracked completely. "You planned this? Both of you?" "No," Mia said quietly. "You did. The moment you decided to use me against my own sister." Dad stepped forward, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "It's over, Linda. Just like last time." "Nothing's over." Linda's eyes darted between us all, calculating. "I still have the offshore accounts, the connections." "Frozen," Uncle Frank said, "along with Judge Reynolds' assets. Turns out the FBI is very interested in judicial misconduct." The first agent produced handcuffs. Linda backed away, her designer heels clicking on concrete. "Harmony." Her voice changed, softening to the mother I barely remembered. "You don't want this. I'm still your mother." "No." I felt 18 years of pain crystallize into clarity. "You're just the woman who taught me what not to become." As they led Linda away, her threats echoing down the corridor, Mia turned to me. I needed to know the truth. About everything. That's why I kept playing along, recording everything. "I know. I studied my sister, really my sister now, not just Linda's weapon." "You needed proof, just like I did." Dad cleared his throat. "The bakery's still open. If anyone wants coffee." Mia hesitated. "I should probably go. My father—" "Already confessed," Uncle Frank cut in, trying to save himself once we presented the evidence. The cell door stood open. Beyond it, I could hear Linda's voice fading, still protesting her innocence. Some things never change. "Coffee sounds good," I said finally. "We have 18 years to talk about." Mia smiled tentatively. "And maybe some of those lemon scones you're famous for?" Dad's eyes watered. "I'll make a fresh batch." We walked out together, leaving Linda's echoing protests behind. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about saving what they tried to destroy, including yourself. The courthouse steps felt colder than they should in September. Linda's sentencing had drawn a crowd, reporters, former clients, curious onlookers. I sat apart from them, watching her being led away in handcuffs, her designer suit replaced by prison orange. She caught my eye as they guided her toward the transport van. For a moment I saw something unfamiliar in her face. Defeat. "Ms. Walsh?" A clerk hurried down the steps. "They found this while clearing out your mother's office. Given the circumstances, the judge thought you should have it." He handed me a leather-bound journal. The pages were worn, dates spanning back to before I was born. Before Linda became Linda. Ready to go? Mia appeared beside me, her testimony still fresh in the air. She glanced at the journal. "What's that?" "Maybe the truth. Maybe more lies." I tucked it into my bag unopened. "Want to grab coffee?" We walked past the media circus, ignoring their questions. Dad's bakery was quiet this time of day, the morning rush long gone. The bell chimed as we entered, and the scent of fresh bread wrapped around us like a shield. Ben looked up from where he was helping Dad with inventory. "How'd it go?" 20 years, I said, plus restitution. Dad's hands stilled on the flour bags. "Good." Mia traced patterns in the sugar someone had spilled on the counter. "My father took a plea deal. 5 years. "I'm sorry," I said, meaning it. "Don't be. They made their choices." She brushed the sugar away. "We make ours." The journal pressed against my side, heavy with unspoken words. I pulled it out, set it between us. "Together?" Mia asked. I opened to the first page. Linda's familiar handwriting filled the margins, but the voice was different. Younger, scared. "I can't tell David about the baby," I read. "He's already working double shifts at the bakery. Another child would ruin everything we've built." Mia's breath caught. The entry was dated 7 months before she was born. Dad moved closer, his shadow falling across the pages. She never said anything true." I started to close the journal, but something fell out. A photograph, Linda holding infant me, looking nothing like the polished woman we knew. She was smiling, really smiling, flour in her hair, probably from the bakery. "I remember that day," Dad said softly. "She'd been up all night with you teething, but she still came to help with the morning rush." "Before everything changed," I said. "Before she changed herself." Dad touched the photo gently. The real Linda disappeared long before she actually left. The bell chimed again. Laura entered, carrying files. "The Henderson investors called. They want to restart negotiations now that everything's cleared up." "Tell them I'll think about it." I closed the journal. "Some things are more important than business." "Like family?" Mia asked quietly. "Like truth." I pushed the journal toward her. "Keep it. Maybe you'll find answers I couldn't." She shook her head. "Maybe some answers aren't in journals. Maybe they're in what we do next." Dad disappeared into the kitchen, returning with a fresh batch of lemon scones. The same recipe he'd used when I was little, when Linda still smiled with flour in her hair. "Your mother chose her path," he said, setting the plate between us. "But she gave me 2 daughters. That's the only truth that matters now." Ben squeezed my hand under the counter. Outside, reporters still lingered, hungry for statements about Linda's sentencing. But in here, surrounded by the smell of fresh bread and coffee, those headlines felt like someone else's story. I watched Mia bite into a scone, closing her eyes just like I used to at her age. Some things, it seemed, ran deeper than Linda's influence. The journal sat between us, full of Linda's versions of truth. But maybe Mia was right. Maybe the real truth wasn't in those pages at all. It was here, in the choices we made next. "So," I said, reaching for a scone, "tell me about your college plans." Mia smiled, really smiled, and began to talk about her future. Not Linda's version, not her father's. Her own. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in destroying what hurt you. It's in building something better from the ruins.